It's time for Georgio Celebrity Check. Tune in now, folks, we need to talk about this. Tune in now, folks, we need to talk about this. Tune in now, folks, we need to talk about this. Georgio says it's time for Georgio Celebrity Check. Tune in now, folks, we need to talk about this. Georgio says it's time for Georgio Celebrity Check.
All right, everyone, what is going on? I mean that in a multitude of ways. Anyhow, welcome. It is the Georgio Says live show. It is 4:01 p.m. And yeah, it's Wednesday. We're here to recap the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. The ladies are back, but more importantly, Dorit is on fire. I can smell the cigarettes from here. So we're going to break down everything that happened last night. And before we do that, I do have some quick tea. It will be very quick, but it is regarding Justin Baldoni's lawyer. He was on Megyn Kelly's show and he spoke on basically everything around this case and that he is going to sue the heck out of Blake Lively. So I'm going to give you an update because there's a leaked audio message that is from the night of the premiere. And I guess it's supposed to prove that Justin was isolated from his own premiere. But anyhow, let's go ahead and jump right on in to the show because I'm just happy to be talking about Housewives, an all-new episode. So let's go.
We need to talk about this. Every rumor, every twist on the Georgio Says podcast. We need to talk about. So hit that play, stay in the know. Georgio's here to steal the show on the Georgio Says podcast. We need to talk about this. We need to talk about this.
All right, so as I mentioned, before we get into the recap for Beverly Hills, I do want to give you guys some quick tea. And yes, it's regarding the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni situation. But first, I do want to address something. I think I may have mentioned this on a prior episode. I can tell there's a distinct difference in just the people on Instagram versus the people on TikTok. So every time I post anything regarding this case, and again, I've said it, but I will continue to say it as a reminder, I am not team anyone. I am simply intrigued by this entire case. I am looking at it from a multitude of angles, and I am just sharing that along with any developments along the way, because I do think this is going to be a monumental situation that's going to play out publicly. And the lawyer on Justin's side is not messing around, and he's ready for business. So, you know, I just want to give you guys a little update because he was on Megyn Kelly, like I said. There was a leaked audio message that was shared during his appearance on her episode. I did share it this morning on TikTok and Instagram. And in no way do I think this is proving anything by any means, but I do think it's quite interesting. So let's go ahead and jump into some quick tea.
Georgio Says, quick tea, quick tea, quick tea.
Okay, so essentially, listen, we know that there's a lot of information that has been thrown out regarding this Justin Baldoni versus Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, seemingly. But nonetheless, what I find to be interesting is the reaction, right? So I've talked about this a little bit, I think, yesterday, but the reaction to the commentary around this whole situation is drawing up a lot of what, in my opinion, are triggered people who are somehow projecting their negative experience with Justin because of the way it's been mapped out. And the reason why I say the way it's been mapped out is simply because, like I kind of went through yesterday, there is a PR strategy to the whole legal approach from both sides. Okay. And interestingly enough, they are both playing into their brands while defending themselves. And so I just think the whole thing is fascinating. But what I think is a little bit alarming is that people are somehow thinking that if it happened to them or whatever has happened to them, which is horrific and horrible, whatever that is triggering them, which is understandable. However, Justin's not your ex. Justin is not the person that did said things to you. This is a separate situation. And, you know, a lot of comments are also saying that I'm part of the like team of people that's out here working for Justin and repping him. I am simply giving you the updates. Now, because there seems to be a little bit more coming out from his side, then yes, I can see that it seems like I'm constantly talking, but I did point out some very, what I think are valid points based on some inconsistencies from Blake's side. I do think those were valid points. And I know that some of those things, like the Woody Allen situation, the Dylan Farrow thing, that also revved some people up. You know, my question there was simply, is it believe all women or not? Because if I go back through that whole thing, it doesn't seem like that is the case always on her side within her brand. That's what I was pointing out. And so I say all that to say that with this lawyer, it seems like he is really ready to go to bat. He even said that he's going to sue the living heck out of Blake Lively. He's very confident that whatever it is that they are sitting on is enough that is going to prove that Justin is innocent, and it'll be clear as day, because his point is he wants the public to have access. And again, he was using these key words, and he said it himself. The Gen Zers today are calling them receipts. Well, I'm going to bring the receipts. And then he didn't say it exactly this way, but he used the same words like receipts, proof. I don't think he's said timeline from what I understand, but if he has, please let me know, because I'd love to stitch that into the Heather Gay receipts, proof, timeline. Nonetheless, he's very confident that he's got enough to prove that they're telling the truth. Now, couple things here. I'm going to let you guys listen to the audio. It's 90 seconds. This is just to frame it up. This clip is credited to Megyn Kelly. This came from her show when Justin's lawyer was on it. So, but essentially, this is from the night, allegedly, of the premiere, where Justin is, we're not clear on who he's speaking to on this voice message, but it sounds like he's explaining how he is kind of forced to stay in the basement of whatever this venue is where the premiere of the movie's happening, because he's not allowed to be around Blake or around the cast. So he's basically explaining that. So essentially, you know, that's kind of what the gist of that is. Now, the reason why I think this is coming out is because if you read through the lawsuit towards the New York Times, in there, as part of the written context to his side of things, it does kind of go through that evening of the premiere where he was like explaining how he wasn't even allowed to be out there with the rest of the cast or, even around Blake. So I think this is just being put out there, frankly, just to keep adding these layers of context to what they seem to think is going to be clear as day evidence that he's innocent. And it's going to prove that Blake is this big monster, right? This is from his angle. And listen, if all of these things play out, and let's just say Justin is proven innocent, do I think that's going to change how some of the people, like the people I was talking about earlier, who are going to strictly believe Blake's complaints no matter what is presented, no matter what the verdict will be? There's still people out here that are team Amber Heard and still believe her. And in fact, because of this, and because she has come out in support of Blake, I've seen some things where people are now starting to think, like, should we go back and question that whole situation? It's like, I don't think we need to go backtrack on that. But let me go ahead and get into this audio for you guys so you guys can listen for yourselves.
Think about this. On what, could have been one of the most beautiful nights of my life career-wise, I literally was sent to the basement with all my friends and family for over an hour because I wasn't allowed to be seen. She didn't want me anywhere near her or the rest of the cast. So they ushered me off the carpet and they sent us down to the basement. We were down there together, my friends and family, the people that love me the most, and we start laughing because of the ridiculousness of this whole thing. And I realized, like, on a night that was supposed to be so materialistically joyful, I was in the basement with the people that I love the most, and we were all joyful and laughing because none of that shit matters. None of it. That's not why we're in the business. That's not why the three of us are in this business, is to attend a premiere like that and be celebrated. We're in this business because we're artists and we believe in what we do, and because we want to create art that touches people's hearts and souls and can move people. And that's what we did. That's what you both did. And I believe that will follow each of us, and that truth will prevail, and that light and love will win.
So there you have it. Listen, a lot of people pointed out like some wording that he was using that were deemed as red flags. Listen, do I think some of the wording seems a little peculiar, not in a bad way necessarily, but is this the way I'm coming from a place of I don't know how he speaks to everyone in general. Like, does he use this type of vocabulary when he speaks to everybody, or was this something that was done because maybe allegedly he knew something might come up and he might need to defend himself? I'm not sure. Okay? Again, this doesn't prove anything. Not at all. Not at all. But what I will say is that I am going to continue watching. What I thought was really interesting was that the lawyer also pointed out that Blake Lively didn't even read the book. She didn't even read the book, according to Justin's lawyer. So, again, does that seem to matter in the scheme of things? No, because it seems that Colleen is very aligned. She's clearly backing Blake. So whether or not Blake read the book or not, I don't think Colleen cared. It was Blake Lively, and, in my opinion, the way things have been presented, it reads as though Colleen found something shinier and bigger and more luxurious to align with, because it seems like Justin was the one that actually organically invested in her books, and then ultimately brought it to life. So I think it'll be interesting, and I definitely think this is going to be huge. It definitely needs to be studied, and here's to the movie that's to come, hopefully. I did take the liberty of creating this. It ends in court because that's ultimately where we're going to ultimately get the final answer, at least from the judge and jury. But you know what? There's going to be more coming. So let's not get all up in arms just yet. I'm still in the middle. I have not chosen a team. I probably will not until we get into the real thick of things or towards the end, just being honest. But I will be covering it. I will be talking about it. But now I think it's time we jump right in to recapping last night's episode of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. The title was Venom in the Viper Room. And let me just tell you, I don't think those ladies were expecting Dorit's visceral reaction there towards the end. We did get a to be continued. I'm struggling to understand what the to be continued was. I knew they were going to drag that whole thing out, though. So I peeped that. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and just jump right in so we can recap it because it was wild.
It's time for Georgio's Real Housewives episode recap. We need to talk about this. Let's get into this episode recap.
All right. So if you guys watched last night, or if you didn't, that's okay. I'm gonna recap it for you. But if you did watch, definitely chime in down below. Let me know what you think or what your thoughts were. But all I'm gonna say is to start off with, Bozeman is absolutely a fantastic addition to this cast for a multitude of reasons. I can't stress it enough. She has got this presence that is so energetic. She's so gorgeous, okay? And on top of that, her energy, her vibe through the screen, like I can't imagine in person, but it makes me want to like go, like if she was ever doing like a boot camp for a week to like, if you were going like through something like a low and you needed to pick me up and she had a boot camp, I would sign up for it because I know I would feel amazing at the end of it. So I'm loving her. But we do get to meet her new man, and I believe his name is pronounced Keely. He lives in San Diego, though, so it is a bit of a long distance, but not too long. It's probably, what, 3.5, 4 hours between Los Angeles and San Diego? I know, traffic not factored in that, but it's doable, in my opinion. But listen, she had this moment where he had this beautiful picnic on the beach all ready for her, and he just seemed very sure of himself. Like it's I don't know, it's refreshing to see because sometimes when you see like guys on screen with a housewife or whoever, you kind of most of the time you can read that they're either super uncomfortable and don't want to be doing it, or they really are loving every second of it to the point where they're producing themselves. But this wasn't the case, or at least not from the way that I was watching. It felt very much like these two are very smitten with each other, but they also have a lot of things in common. I mean, this guy is definitely serious about what types of life choices he's making. He is very, very diligent in this conversation with Bose to open the conversation up when it comes to what the next steps are for their relationship. And so that's important as well. And Bose says something that I thought was really important, which was, you know, the way you build trust is through basically saying everything, like sharing as much detail as possible. And it seems to be working for her. But so I don't know how this will go, but it seems like as of right now, and I believe they're still together, so they're still going strong. So, you know, bravo to her. And I think it's also brave that she's new and she's bringing a new relationship onto the cameras for everyone to watch. That's always, but to be fair to her, she could be doing it to test him. You never know. based on her prior experience, as she shared, where essentially she was being lied to and scammed. Uh, that would be a good way to test someone. But moving on, we do get a scene with Dorit meeting Erica for lunch. They're having a bit of a catch up, if you will, because obviously, if you watched last episode, we left off with Camille getting her behind handed to her, unfortunately. And listen, I love Camille. I'll say that right now. But it was a bit odd and a bit out of place, in my opinion, that she was even at this party. So it does seem like there was a more calculated reason for her appearance. But nonetheless, Dorit is basically catching up with Erica and letting her know what she's got going on, right? She's not in a good place with PK. It's a mess. And luckily, her parents are there with her because at this point, she feels like she needs the support. She can't do this alone. And it seems that the communication with PK is not in a good space. Now, I want to point something out here is that Erica is proving every time she has an interaction around anyone's issue, whether it was Kyle's last season or with Dorit's this season, she's proving that, listen, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be a sounding board and I'm going to be here to support you, right? Like she is definitely keeping that vibe with both, really, because I think Kyle's still going through stuff. But in this moment, she's very much a sounding board for Dorit and just letting her just spew her feelings, right? But Erica couldn't help herself when the Camille of it all was brought up. And listen, it was funny. It was funny. It was funny to see Dorit go off, okay, the way she did and double down and triple down. So, I think this is one of the main reasons why I think Dorit is on fire this season with the viewers as well, because I think they're seeing, okay, this Dorit, this fed up Dorit, the one that doesn't care anymore, the one that's like slowly lost her accent, that she introduced herself to us with, like this, this is who she is and she doesn't care. And she's going to just, mention it all, as Bethany says. And I think it is refreshing. I think everyone's been at a point or is at a stage in their life where maybe they have felt like Dorit at some point. And then they get to a place where they're like, you know what? Enough's enough. And is it rational all the time? Absolutely not. But maybe that's what's needed for her in her journey. Because if her and PK are not going to be able to find a way to reconcile or at the very least co-parent, then she's going to need to figure out that self journey very quickly or she's going to get lost in it all. Nonetheless, so with that, Dorit's also explaining to Erica that she's got this therapy appointment scheduled with PK. It's basically their first time sitting in a session. And so she's anticipating something, but it's not really clear what. And again, I'm still of the mindset that Dorit is not able to separate the fact that PK is now sober. And so his whole vibe has shifted and mentality has shifted, right? And then you've got Dorit over here who's still seemingly, from what it sounds like, picking up the pieces and trying to process everything. But in the background, the sober journey is also happening. So she's got to be sensitive to that. And so it's a lot. And so I think the way she's kind of vomiting out information, if you will, this season, or as quickly as she's just throwing stuff out there, I think it's a lot of pent up stuff that she's just, she's had it. I think she's tired of, I've said this before in past recaps, I think she's just fed up of trying to play this part, keeping up this show. I think she'd rather just cut through the crap and just move through it and move forward however she can. And I will say, I do think that Erica lens as inspiration for that, okay? And not just to this group of women. I think anybody can look at Erica's journey and say, you know what? That's pretty bad, right? We can all agree that what she went through was horrific. And she's still coming out of it, to be fair. But the truth is, there's something inspirational for Dorit to look at someone like Erica and see her do it all alone, and at the barometer that she had to deal with all of that. Okay, Dorit's like, okay, well, if she can do it, then I can do it in my own situation. You know, it's never going to be like Erica's, but you know, it is a good listen, it's a good line in the sand to say, you know what, if you know, it's not as bad as Erica's situation, man. I can get, if she can get through that and turn it around and come out shining, I can get through this, you know? And so I think that does add to the storylines right now with Kyle, with Dorit. The women are single, you know, there's a lot of relatability. And I think Erica's showing up much differently, and she seems more relaxed, which is nice to see, right? Because we didn't like seeing angry, defensive Erica. I love this Erica, but that's part of the journey. Garcelle is super duper excited for this full circle moment that she's having because, as we know, she did build her dream beach house. And, you know, this is, I think, the second time we're getting to see it. But this time she was bringing her son up, well, all of her family, essentially, her sons, grandsons. But Garcelle opens up, and here's where I am going to defend Garcelle, right? Because a lot of people always talk about how Garcelle's just on here to be a messy producer, but she never shares anything that's going on in her life, right? But in this episode, this is another reason for me to say, okay, that's not the case, because what she shared last night, I don't think a lot of parents, A, would have been able to do, and B, then talk about it because of the way it could come off, right? So I do think her sharing the story around Oliver and the period of time where he was dealing with addiction, which she has slightly mentioned when she first came on the show seasons back, but now she kind of went a little bit deeper in explaining that, you know, it got so bad that she had to cut him off. Like the doors were locked. None of the family would see him. It was like they all essentially turned their back on him. And she details a night where I don't recall if she said it was a friend or a family member, but they were in her pool house, I guess, watching TV, and she heard a lot of noise outside. And she goes to look and she sees Oliver, but she says that it's not Oliver because he's so inebriated. He's acting out in a way that she's never seen before. And he was demanding that she let him in the pool house, right? And so this is a moment where, look, I'm not a parent. But I can imagine that must have been very, 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 very difficult for her in that moment, right? To not open the door for your son, who's clearly not in a good space. He's you know, out of his wits. He's inebriated. He's on whatever, right? And you're letting him just wander back out there. And so she details that in a way that I found to be very genuine. And, you know, that's, like I said, I don't think a lot of parents would, A, be able to do that, and B, share it, and at least in that great detail. But she does say that it made her feel guilty because, again, it's not to say that because she stuck with it that it didn't impact her, because clearly it did. So that was nice. But what was nice to hear, rather, was that they were able to get on the other side of it, clearly, because now he's got kids and they're in a much better place. And so being able to show this beach house to them is is, the value on that is priceless. I think her being able to have things and a legacy and leave some generational wealth and break cycles. I think those things are part of her storyline if you've been watching. And yes, does she get in there as a quote unquote producer? Sure. I mean, but honestly, like, there's nothing wrong with that. She's getting in there and getting us the information. She's asking questions. Does she sometimes come off like she's coming straight from like the Twitter feed and going off of what viewers want? I could see that, but at the same time, I do feel like she shares a lot of interesting story. And again, she was someone before this show, so I don't feel that she needs to necessarily be on the show. I do think it's a good machine for her because it is helping promote her and elevate her career further. So I think it is good. And right now, I think it's working, me personally. Um, but I thought that story was sad. I mean, it was like sad and it made me happy in the end, obviously, because they were able to work through it. But so many people and families are not able to work through it, and that's what's the most heartbreaking part of it all. Um, we get Dorit and Bose together. Bose is over at Dorit's house because she is, really growing fond of Dorit. Dorit does talk a lot, but as we've come to learn, Bose loves a lot of detail. So she and Dorit are a perfect match to be besties. It's no wonder that they hit it off because Bose has the ears. She wants that information. And Dorit wants someone to just hear her information, right? And listen, I think at this point, I think Dorit is Dorit in that way. So I've come to just accept it. I think most people have. But Bose actually appreciates that. And I just think that this is like a friendship that I think is like destined to be a friendship that's going to last for seasons. Because I think that Bose is here to stay. She's got a lot of story, and I think she's got a lot of impact that she's going to make on this show. And based on just her engagement in this episode, based on what was going on, I can tell that she is fantastic. I'm going to become a stan very fast for her, and I'm like a little bit concerned because every time it gets that early with it and then something happens, and then I have to talk about it. Anyways, so yes, Bose is at Dorit's house, and Dorit she's had her therapy session, right, with PK. She says it was 4 hours. 4 hours. And that PK came in to the session looking for a fight. He was defensive, he was ready to place blame. And he even was doing things like every time something would piss him off, he'd be like, "This is why I want a divorce from you." And it's like, whoa. First of all, a 4-hour therapy session, that in and of itself it just sounds very exhausting. It just does. But Bose is like too stunned to speak because it's like, whoa, like that's intense because this to me may explain why Dorit is not sharing what's going on with her kids because it seems like a lot of erratic behavior. And again, that is part of the journey perhaps for PK because again, he's on a sober journey. He's got to deal with his thoughts and emotions differently now. He can't lean on alcohol. So it'll be interesting to see how they're able to come together because he's going to be different, but it seems like we're still waiting for the dust to settle. But it didn't sound like the therapy session helped. And this didn't make Dorit feel any better about where this is going and whatnot. But one thing that did come up was the fact that, she is very much in a place where she is tired of the BS, right? This is a consistent theme with Dorit so far, and we're only 6 episodes in. Okay, we still have a ways to go. And it's really refreshing. Like I said earlier, she's being super honest from my view. Okay, I know a lot of people think she's producing herself and making this whole thing a storyline. Maybe some of this is embellished for TV, but I think the core of it is real. I think she really is fed up with a lot. But Bose, interestingly, calls out the fact that at Kyle's party, if you remember, Bose she felt some type of way about the fact that Sutton weaponized Dorit's pain against her in that moment, right? And so she brings this up to Dorit to basically say, like, that seems very much not like someone who wants to support you. And listen, we all love Sutton. I've been a self-proclaimed slutton for Sutton since the beginning. Okay, I even put out a song called Slutton for Sutton, streaming everywhere you get your music. No, but honestly, I do see this season. Sutton is, I don't know. It's interesting watching her this season because it feels like there's a couple new pieces on the chessboard, and she doesn't really quite know where she's sitting on things, and it feels like her outbursts are, yes, this season they're coming off a bit erratic, if I'm being honest. And you guys know I love her, but I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Fair is fair, at least. I think this is a bit erratic this season because a lot of it seems like it's misplaced. And it doesn't, like, from Dorit's angle, I can see why she's kind of like unsure, right? Like, 1 minute you're basically on a boat telling me, like, you can lean on me. I get it. I've been there. If you need anything, I'll be here, essentially. And then in the other breath, it's like you're snapping at her and then weaponizing her situation against her, because let's call a spade a spade. That's exactly what she did. So I think that is not something that Dorit clearly wants to be investing her time in. But speaking of glamour and sassiness, we get Erica. Okay, she's redoing her home. Okay, she's ready for a fresh start. She wants something that's more her, where she's at in her life, something sexier. And you know what? I just envisioned, like, Erica being like the rest of us and just going and shopping around, like going to Home Goods, trying to stick within a budget. Things are getting expensive, okay? But no. She's got to get the best of the best of interior designers. And he's not cheap, but this guy. We've seen him. I believe he even has a show, Michael. He does amazing work. He's worked with so many different clients, from Kourtney Kardashian to Cher and you name it in between. So what I thought was interesting was that clearly, based on his roster of clients, that budget obviously is pretty high in terms of interior design. So it's interesting that, he is working with Erica, who's clearly in scene telling him that, we're going to do all of these great things, but, at a very small budget, or a budget that works within her means. So that's kind of refreshing. And I even said in my short recap on TikTok and Instagram that I think this could actually be a good way for Erica to leverage, actually, maybe like a home brand. Like, I'm seeing like flatware. Like, she could do like an upscale home line that's affordable, right? Because think about it like this. She lived very lavishly. Then she had to go all the way to the bottom and work her way back to where she's at now. So she gets what looks good, what looks expensive, what looks, what doesn't. So I could see her doing that. And I could totally see her going on like a QVC or something and selling it. I think it would do well. I'm just saying. So yeah, very exciting. I can't wait to see what he does with her place. If he, in fact is going to do the whole thing, or he's going to do just parts of it. But listen, speaking of Erica, we're getting to the point of the night where we've got to celebrate the release of Erica's single Dominoes, okay? Now, I thought for some reason maybe that she was going to perform the single at the Viper Room, but no, that wasn't the case. It was actually what I thought was really interesting is this is her night technically because it's her single that's, you know, they're debuting or releasing or having a release party for or whatnot. So they have like a step and repeat outside of the Viper Room, obviously, because this is like an event, it's for the show. So, you know, first of all, the way it's edited, at least, it looks like Erica comes later than a lot of the women. And so they're all doing the step and repeats. And obviously, Kyle's there. And you would think, right? Like, this is Kyle's event. She is basking in this, but also she's loving the fact that she's got Kesha on the show with her so that she can show everyone that she's friends with Kesha. She's got more than one musician friend. Don't you start any rumors. Trust me, we weren't. But one thing I will say is I didn't buy the story of how she met Kesha because Kesha was on The Simple Life. So, you know, at the very least, Paris already had a relationship with Kesha. So this whole she DM'd me or whatever. I mean, that could have been true, but I feel like they knew of each other. Like, I don't think it was just like a chance moment on social media. But the ladies do get there to celebrate the release of Erica's new single Dominoes, and she gets on stage and I'm like, she's gonna drop it like it's hot. She's gonna perform this song and it's gonna be a vibe, right? And no, she was a hype girl for the single. The DJ played it and she was just like, yeah, throw your hands in the air, you guys. And it was just like, woot, woot. And, you know, just having a good time and nothing wrong with it. I do like the song. I think it's very catchy. I think she always does well with creating bops. She always has. And so I'm happy to see her back in her element. You know, if you can see that her confidence has been boosted just by, you know, being able to perform again and you know, feel good about it. So that was funny though that she wasn't actually like performing it. She was just kind of like ad-libbing and then just telling everyone to dance and stream the single. But Bose had to very professionally let Sutton know at the Viper Room that, because here's the thing, Sutton she wasn't happy that Bose said that she was weaponizing Dorit's pain against her at Kyle's party. And so when Sutton brings this up to Bose just, you know, and again, Bose has swagger. She can almost throw a jab at you and you will walk away thinking that she gave you the biggest compliment ever. And that is this moment where Bose tells Sutton, you are very, very good with your words. So it either means like, I don't know what she said before that, but she said, you know, it could make you dangerous. And Sutton laughed, but I think Sutton caught it a little bit that she threw the word dangerous out there. But like, to be honest, right? This season, I'm just talking about this season, Sutton is coming off a bit calculated. Like she keeps kind of inserting and doing certain things. And sometimes I'm thinking, is she doing certain things and saying certain things because she wants to get a rise out of certain people for a moment? Because she knows that, like, you know, she's got to keep up the, you know, this brand at this point. And again, love Sutton, but this season it's looking like, what's going on here, girl? What's going on? But you know, we had bigger fish to fry, okay? Because it was very clear that Dorit wanted to get to the bottom of whether or not Kyle and PK are communicating. Because again, we learned in this episode that Dorit is saying that PK has got like zero communication. It's not good right now with him. And now she's hearing rumblings that Kyle and PK have been communicating. Well, that's strange. Why didn't she tell me that? So we immediately get to the table where everyone's sitting, and Dorit goes right in, but not harshly. She gently goes in by explaining that things are not great right now with PK. They're not really communicating well, uh, and whatnot. And things have just been rough all around. And it's been very hard for her to navigate. So, this is her way, an entry point of then asking Kyle, like, okay, so have you heard anything? Do you talk to him, Kyle? Like, hello? Um, has he said anything to you? And, Kyle's very much like, it's when we do talk, it's like memes and like stuff like that. Like nothing, like totally going off and deflecting, trying to make it more about the content of the communication, not about whether or not they're communicating, all the while she's like not in a good space with Dorit. So like, yeah, those are red flags to me. So yeah, she was kind of dodging answering directly. Now here's where again, Sutton inserts herself and she brings up the fact that again, Dorit can't hide it from her kids for long. Now, look, Sutton, I know she means well, and maybe this is the southern gal in Sutton, the motherly southern gal that is going to give it to you straight. And you may not always want to hear that. And listen, the thing is, I think Sutton ultimately is coming from a good place when she says these things, but I think I do agree with Garcelle here. Do not bring up the kids. Leave them out of it. Unless Dorit is bringing them up, don't even go there. Don't, because honestly, she's not in a good space. And if anything, she has proven to you guys by now that she's ready to go into the fire. She's not taking any high road. So I think, Sutton inserting herself, and then not only inserting herself, but then when Dorit is basically just kind of calling her to the carpet on what happened on the boat. 1 minute you're saying you'll be there for me, and then we get this visceral reaction out of nowhere where it's like Sutton just being like, well, fine, I don't want to be your friend then. Don't be my friend. Don't. Then I won't. Then don't lean on me. I don't know. What do you want? What did I do? What did I do? And Dorit's like, exactly. Exactly. You're literally proving my point. So this wasn't great for Sutton, Listen, we're down a little bit this season, slutting for Suttons. We'll rise up again, though. We're going to rise up again. It's not over. But, essentially, once Sutton was out of it again, it was back to Dorit versus Kyle. And listen, I don't know about you guys out there, but well, first off, if anybody I knew, a friend of mine, was texting my ex or someone I was separated with when we're not even speaking right now in terms of us being friends, I would have a huge problem with that. I would still have a problem with it even if we were not in a beef. Like if we were speaking and you were doing, I would have a huge problem with that. And it was weird that Kyle was acting like nothing. It was like nothing for her to be this upset, to be picking at. It was almost like, and I'll use Kyle's own words here because she's said this in I think it was a season with Carlton where she said, basically she's trying to make it seem like Dorit's looking for tits on an ant. And it's like, I don't think so. And no one else at that table felt any different. No one at that table felt like what Kyle was doing was fine or that they wouldn't have a problem with it. And even Bose said, like, yeah, that's breaking girl code. That's breaking girl code. Because honestly, like, what are you doing? This is supposed to be your friend. But yeah, even though you guys are not speaking, like, I don't care if you're sending memes. I don't care if he asked you where the hospital is. You're not giving him any directions. You ignore it because you're my friend. You're my friend. And so this back and forth exchange continues on for a little bit because it's a lot of deflecting. It's a lot of Kyle doing what Kyle does best, like, oh, look over there. Oh, you're overreacting. Oh, you need to listen. And it's like constantly, like, when she knows she's in the wrong, she's going to try to completely take control of the conversation and situation so that you can't one up her, right? And I love Kyle, okay? She's the OG, okay? But again, let's be fair here. She's not being honest. If Dorit did that to her, this would be the entire storyline for Kyle this season, and you all know it. You all know it. She would drag this in. This would be an entire thing if Dorit was texting Mo while Kyle and Dorit weren't speaking, and they were like, no, absolutely not. She would never speak to Dorit again, ever, because that's just how it goes, it seems like. Uh, you know, but listen, at the end of the day, Kyle is Kyle, and she's going to rev it up, and she's going to make sure that she, because she was annoyed at this point. She didn't really understand what she was supposed to do, frankly. She was caught in something that clearly no one else at the table was in agreement with her about. No one was jumping to her defense. And I think also everyone's a little stunned by Dorit. So they're a little afraid, even if they did want to defend Kyle, they probably wouldn't right now because it seems like Dorit's ready to go there. But Kyle really just, she decided she was gonna push it, She was gonna F around. But then Dorit said, well, then you're going to find out. And this is where it gets really like, okay, now we're maybe seeing a glimpse into what Dorit was referring to when she says that when her and PK would get into these heated arguments and things would get toxic. I can see, and I'm not saying this is exactly how it went, you guys, but what I'm saying is that, like, I can see it. I know, like, I could see in her in that moment. She could go dark if she wanted to. She could totally go dark. And listen, she's a Cancer, so let's not discount that. They also can go very dark very quickly. They're just very sensitive. They also need to process information and they need to understand it. So if, to her point, when she talks about how 1 minute he, PK's doing well, and then the next minute he's in therapy session being like, this is why I want a divorce from you, it throws her off, and Dorit needs a lot of information in order to have understanding and feel okay. But this moment was intense because she got up out of her seat and she was letting Kyle know, like, no, you're not going to do this anymore. The rules have changed, everyone. There is a new bitch in town, and her name is Dorit. Where is my cigarettes? Can I smoke in the Viper room? I'm sure they would have let her smoke if she wanted to. Let's be honest. And then Sutton's like, no, ladies. No. Enough. And then we get a to be continued. And then we hear some, like, glass breaking. I don't think this is going to be some VH1 level, like, fight or anything. So, like, it's not going to be that deep. I think that was probably the most of it. Unless things do really go off the charts, then it's like, okie doke. We will have to wait and see because we did not get a preview. Probably because I wonder if when they do that, it's because they want to go and re-edit something for the next week and they need a little bit more time. That's my conspiracy theory on it, at least. All right. I have been just talking. I feel like I'm Dorit. I just talk. Let's go to the comments and say hello to the people in the comments. Hello, Jeff C. Doodle. Thank you for being here. Hello, Mademoiselle. Thank you for being here. Let's see. Who else is here? Hello, Aquarius Goddess. Yes. Danny Gossip Girl, how are you, my love? Thinking of you. Thank you for being here. Listen, guys, thank you so much. Also, hello to Smiling with Aaron D. Thank you so much for being here. Yes, thank you. Yeah, let me know, guys. I see your comments, reading through them. It's, it's interesting. The Dorit and Kyle thing, there's also been these rumors that I have talked about in the past. There's nothing verified there, okay, between the rumors that were regarding the Mauricio and Dorit love affair or whatever, because you know, that is still just a rumor that has no real evidence to back it up or validate. But, a lot of people feel like there's more to the story when it comes to Dorit and Kyle. But honestly, I don't know if I think that anymore. I think watching this, it feels like there's a lot of stuff going on with Dorit. I think she's unpacking a lot of things, and I think she's going through her own journey, just like Kyle did last season. I mean, we watched Kyle, pretty much turn into a full-on lesbian, and we were there along for the ride, and we still got zero information. And now this season, we're not even allowed to say Morgan's name. So let's get Kesha on the red carpet at Erica's event. Um, no, but like honestly, like I think Dorit she's just going through it and she's putting it all out there. And I think she's giving everyone a reaction because she is at her breaking point with things and she's not taking it anymore. And we've seen that a lot in Housewives. We see someone who's done being walked over, who's done being the nice guy, who's done being the one that supports all the time. Then we get that boom, that turnaround where they just come in and it seems like it's out of left field. But then when you unpack it more, you're like, oh, yeah, I could see how this came about, right? Not to mention, yes, mademoiselle, you are right. Dorit needs to keep her diamond. She was warned to either spill it or leave. And listen, fair enough. We've had enough seasons of Dorit giving us the smoke and mirrors and the zero storyline. Producers need more than what has been given, which has been nothing. Meanwhile, this whole time, there's been a lot of stuff going on. So, yeah, I think there was a lot to make up for. So, is she vomiting at the mouth and giving off details that maybe are backfiring on her in real time? Because as of, late, it seems that her and PK are still not in a place where they're decided on what's going on in their marriage. Are they going to divorce? Are they going to reconcile? It's pretty much still where it was from last night's episode, is what she said. And I don't know. I don't think that this is going to bode well for this marriage, unfortunately. But, we're going to keep watching. Again, we have I think 4 or 5 episodes before we get the mid-season trailer, so we'll probably get a little bit more detail and insight as to what else is going on. Listen, I'm here for it either way. I know, again, a lot of you guys think that Dorit is producing herself for this storyline. And listen, if she is, fine, I'll take it because it's entertaining as hell. I can't say enough. Whatever this is, if it's just a moment, I'll take it. But that's all I've got for you guys today. So before I close out today's show, just a reminder, tomorrow's show will be at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time instead of 4 p.m. because I will be in a very important meeting that's face-to-face that I cannot get out of. So tomorrow's show will be at 12 p.m. But don't worry, you can always watch the replay. It's always available on my YouTube channel. Speaking of YouTube channel, if you liked this video, please like this live, comment your thoughts down below on everything we discussed today, and make sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss when I upload or when I go live, which is Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for the exception of tomorrow, which will be 12 p.m., but that's a one and done. What else can I tell you guys about? Yeah, follow me on Instagram for the quick updates and quick recaps. And if you're listening to this as a podcast audio episode, please do me the favor of leaving a nice 5-star review. It does help the podcast, and I would appreciate it. Thank you so much. With that, thank you to everyone in the live chat who joined me today. And I hope you guys are doing well. And until the next episode, guys, I will talk to you on the next one. Bye.
We need to talk about this. Every rumor, every twist on the Georgio Says podcast. We need to talk about. So hit that play, stay in the know. Georgio's here to steal the show on the Georgio Says podcast. We need to talk about this.